Man, that's a great question. An excellent question because my answer to that question is yes. I'm very much worried
Same.
about. I'm very
Same.
much worried about both.
I have us on
But
upset alert, man, for that exact reason. Like that's my answer too is yes. Like,
I still think as far as I think Miami is more dynamic and has more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Stats be damned, given the fact that their guys are averaging more downfield. I still think I'm more worried, honestly, about us being able to stop them with the game on the line. Let's say that Virginia Tech is driving to win the game and we're up by 4 points, or we're down by 4 points and we're driving to win the game. I feel like either team's going to score. So in that respect, if it's a close game and I have to put it down on our offense or I have to put it down on our defense, I'll give it to our offense 20 times every day and 50 times on Sunday. I am that much worried about our defense right now. So I would say in that respect, I'm more worried about our rushing attack, our ability to not just stop out of a traditional, run formation or I formation or anything else, just the physicality of it. Right now, I'm just worried about our ability to play assignment football, as I've said, to make the right reads. So I would say if you put a gun to my head right now, I'd say a run defense. I'm very worried about the defense.
so
Well, so sorry to cut you off, Jordan. I want to ask you a question. Through the first three quarters last Friday, our defense was just absolutely torched. And then in the fourth quarter, we give up 6 yards on 8 plays to NC State's offense. Do you think Manny called the defensive plays in the fourth quarter, or do you think that was still Blake Baker?
I think it's interesting because, that's kind of been bandied about. That's no one's really leaked that one out, even the beat writers. But I think it certainly begs the question, what gave? Because right now I think that there's a lot of questions about Blake Baker's ability to, put his players in the best position to win. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he kind of had a come to Jesus moment with him in the locker room at halftime. But again, I do think a lot of that had to do. I think Miami played better and they made the play when they had to, especially on the last drive to win the game. But I think a lot of it comes down to game situations again. NC State had the lead. When you have the lead, you can get a little bit lax mentally, with attention and everything else. I mean, they were playing with a 10-point lead for the last, the vast majority of the fourth quarter. So I honestly think that there could have, give credit to Miami. They made the plays when they had to. They got the interception when they had to seal the game. They forced the punt when they needed it. But still, I think, one great quarter of football. I don't know how much of that was change as well as focus and game flow as well. But that certainly doesn't alleviate the concern from the past few games.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, I don't want to rain on the parade, but you guys know how I am. I mean, we were playing against a third-string quarterback, and they were on a 3-game losing streak. So like, I really don't want to celebrate too much that we finally played how we should on defense against that kind of team, right?
Well, let's face it, third-string quarterbacks are first-team Pro Bowlers against our defense in the past 2 years. So
and that's what I'm saying is, like, in the fourth quarter we finally made him look like a backup, and it's what we should have, man. Like that's kind of been a theme this whole year is I know we're like doing a bend don't break thing. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but we are getting bent over by these backup quarterbacks consistently, and it's really frustrating.
Well, I'll tell you this. What I would love to see is if you're starting off, if your defense is constantly, going the straight backwards surrender mode into field goal range, and it's basically Sherman's march to the sea by the opposition. I want to see more aggressiveness. I want to see more blitzes. I want to see more attacking the quarterback. Because if they score, who the hell cares? Because they're going to score anyways. You're going to force them back to an 8-yard loss. Now that's what you got to have. I would just like to see maybe a little bit more aggressiveness. So
I think that is kind of what feels different between the Blake defense and the Manny defense, right? Is like Manny had kind of this bend don't break thing too, but he was sending the dogs on every single play while he would let the other team back him into field goal range, right? But
I feel
he was forcing turnovers because of the aggressiveness, like you just said. Whereas it feels like now we're still letting guys march us back into field goal range almost every drive, but we're not forcing turnovers. We're not having that aggressive. I mean, it's exactly like what you said. I'm just trying to, restate it.
Yeah, I think that Manny has been one of the most aggressive defensive coordinators that we've seen in a long time, and I think it certainly has paid dividends because turnovers are basically like, well, not being touchdowns for defense. I mean, they're impact game plays like touchdowns, and so sacks are the same way. Batted balls on third down from rushing defenders, forcing a quarterback to a mistake. I mean, that's what pressure does, and I just feel like if you're getting pushed backwards, you have to attack. And I don't feel like I feel like I've had my hands up more this year than ever, saying, why aren't we doing something about this? So it'll be interesting to see because Hooker's a guy, he gets out, look out, but he's also a guy that can throw the ball very well if you give him time back there to make the right read, as evidenced by his receivers, big play ability and the fact that he's quite accurate. He was 21 of 27 last week, so you can't sit back there. I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive and mix it up a little bit more, give some more man blitz looks and see if you can make an impact play happen. We haven't seen the chain as much as we should this year, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, we're 9th in the ACC in turnovers this year, which is just preposterous. Which is awful. Like 1 in the last 3 games. And, the NC State game, it came at the most important time, but still, that was our only one of the game. And it's just very frustrating to see. So one of my last questions for you is, this is obviously, a lot of people don't consider, when we talk rivals for Miami, it's usually Florida State, UF. Jordan and I, we strongly consider Virginia Tech a rival for Miami. And so there's been some classic Miami Virginia Tech games. The Willis McGahee 6 touchdowns, the 2005 win up in Blacksburg. Which Miami VaTech game stands out to you the most when you look at this rivalry?
Man, I'm glad you asked that question. And I love this rivalry, first of all, because I went to high school in East Tennessee. I went right up into the Tri-Cities area, right near Gate City, Virginia. I lived about 10, 15 minutes from the state line. So going to Miami was certainly a sea change experience for me because the areas could not be any different. I'm telling you, it is like it's hard to even put into words. So I think rivalries, when you talk about Florida State, Miami, you talk about Florida State, and Georgia Tech, whatever, you see, a lot of similarities between the areas. These two areas could not be more dissimilar. And I think that's so interesting for the rivalry. It's so weird. They've had some great games. So I love this rivalry. I think it's one of the more underrated rivalries that we have. As far as games itself, man, I tell you what, I 2002, the 6 touchdown Willis McGahee game, the only game all year I missed because I had law school finals coming up. I couldn't go to it. That one was amazing. I wish I could have said I saw that game. Getting ready the fall before I went to Miami in 2000 when it was 1. When Miami Virginia Tech were, I think they were 1 versus 2, I think, or it was 1 versus 3. I don't remember. Beating Michael Vick and completing no, actually I don't think. I think it was 2 versus 3 or 4. We were 3 or 4 because that year we beat number 1 Florida State, we beat number 2 Virginia Tech, and Michael Vick, even though Vick was banged up, and we just blew them out. We beat their ass. So that game really stuck out to me because I think it really kind of gave that added satisfaction to what turned out to be an amazing year that where we were robbed, but still we were clearly the best team of the year. So I think just beating up on Vick the way we did that year to kind of send him out after the hell that he gave us for the previous couple of years, that one really sticks out to me as one of my favorite games, even though it wasn't close. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't close. It was awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, man. Well, so before we have you take off, let's hear a score prediction for tomorrow.
I wrote about it in Monday Musings. I gave my prediction like I do every week on State of the U. I've got Miami winning by about a touchdown. I think that despite my our shared concerns, I think we're on the same page in that regard as far as being able to just line up and run the ball. Yep. King flipped the switch last week. I think Virginia Tech's going to have a hell of a time. The wide receivers are playing with a ton of confidence. Will Mallory is just a touchdown machine right now. He's kind of that X factor in the red zone, and we've got the best trio of running backs in the country. And I think we're starting to see more and more of them. I'm a big Cam Harris fan, but I mean I am loving that Knighton and Chain are getting on the field and they're eating. So I think we just have too many weapons. I think we struggle to stop them, as we talked about. I've got Miami winning around a score of 45-37, I hope.
All right. We'll take it, man. That's a high-scoring one, man.
Yeah.
Just last year was 42-35, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's actually not too far off of what I had. And I want to echo all your points, but I think last week we showed a certain level of maturity that it's like we can put those games away. We can have the confidence that when we're down by 10 in the fourth quarter, it's like we got this under control. We're moving the ball. We can get the stop when we need it. I think we'll see a very similar vibe tomorrow.
Yeah, and on that point, the last thing I wanted to say is, last week, it's we get screwed out of the touchdown. We have to kick the field goal. We're down by 4 points. We lose that game in previous years, and we point to that and say we got screwed. We do not go down and get that game-winning touchdown. That was huge, and that is in large part because of the skills of De'Aaron King and the confidence that this team has in him. I really believe that. I think that a quarterback like that makes all the difference in an 8-3, 7-4 team, and hopefully what we can do this year. So.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That was a season-changing drive, I believe, or just a season-changing quarter. But Craig, thank you so much, man. We need to have you on again because this was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah,
Check
course,
out
man.
his work on State of the U, and anywhere else that they can find your work, Craig?
Just on State of the U for the Canes. I write about the Dolphins every week on the Finsider.
Perfect. All righty, Craig. You have a good one, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See ya. Perfect. Dude, Craig was an awesome guest, man.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, is our next guest ready?
I forgot to message him, but let's give him a call. Gaby, what's up, bro?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been at Marsh. I can officially say, as you know, it's been very rainy. The weather has not been very pleasant down here, so I've been inside a lot. But otherwise, I definitely can't complain.
Bro, it's been awful. Like today is literally the first nice day that we've had since I moved here. So that's been nice. Before we talk football, I'm sure you've seen on Twitter, and I hope you're proud of me. I'm watching the Harry Potter movies for the first time.
I'm very proud of you. It took you long enough, but I'm definitely glad you're coming around.
Yeah, and I watched Prisoner of Azkaban yesterday. I did not like that, but Goblet of Fire, that movie slaps.
Yeah, Goblet. That's actually the book I'm reading right now. I flew through 1 through 3. I've watched the movies before, admittedly, but that was a long time ago. So I'm giving the books a chance, and I'm like, I would say probably a little bit over like a quarter of the way done with Goblet of Fire, but it's a huge book. It's like an 800-page book, and so that's the one I'm kind of grinding through right now. So my memory isn't super fresh on what happens there, so no spoilers.
No, yeah. Gabby always sends me a Snapchat when he finishes the book, and I always feel like a loser because I don't read.
You haven't read them, Marsh?
No, you know what? I've read the Lord of the Rings books, but I have not read Harry Potter. Have you, Jordan?
Okay. Yeah. So I read all of them when I was younger, and then I've seen all the movies, a few times. I like Harry Potter. I wouldn't say it's like a franchise that I geek out about. But I know the story well and all that kind of stuff.
I'm getting into it. I think Goblet of Fire may have flipped me.
It's good, dude. It is good, and I definitely recommend the books over the movies. I'm of the opinion that the books were really good and the movies were they were meh to good. Like once Hermione gets really hot, then they're great. But
I love it. Okay, so Gabby, first things first, big news in recruiting this week. Tim Burns decommits from Miami, 3-star cornerback out of Miami Northwestern. Obviously, we just sent out an offer to Khalil Anderson. Is that right?
Yeah. So they just dished out an offer to Khalil Anderson. Andrew Evans reported earlier in the week that that was definitely going to be a possibility. Khalil Anderson's actually a guy that Clemson's kind of testing the waters on. They're kind of inquiring, kind of seeing what's up there. It seems like cornerbacks are at a premium, especially with the way you just watch the way football's going and you see how much passing's done. And, pass rushers and guys that can help break up passes are really at a premium. So, it's definitely important to get guys like that in the class. I think Khalil Anderson's definitely a good one. He's definitely a guy that's, kind of that might be more highly regarded than his ranking might suggest. And I think it's going to be very interesting. He's a Pitt commit, but a lot of people are committed right now without seeing programs, but that's actually not